Okay. Good evening. We'll call to order the November 16, 2015 meeting of the BUHS number 6 board. Welcome everyone. And we'll start as always with the clerk's report. And we have the first item, the approval of the minutes from our November 2nd meeting, which were circulated earlier today. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at them or not.
I move the minutes of the November 2nd meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. I'm going to ask for additions, deletions, and corrections, but I would like to say that we should show Sean as excused for other board business as opposed to absent.
Thank you very much.
Because you were
Absent
definitely
Guilford.
working
Yeah.
on our behalf that night.
Yeah, it was actually an excellent meeting.
Are there any other additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes, November 2nd? If not, all in favor of approving those minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Well, I guess I should probably say abstaining, yes, or no. I don't know.
Well, you weren't at the meeting, but you've read the minutes and watched the meeting. So.
Yeah, I did. I even watched it on BC.
You watched it on TV, so you can go ahead and, yeah, we don't make you abstain. Okay, the minutes are approved. Communications, I have one. Does anybody else have any communications? I, along with Dr. Staley and Mr. Davidson, received a letter from a middle school science teacher concerning the possibility of having Veterans Day as a holiday. And we have in the past, recently anyway, not had that. And she is suggesting that perhaps that could be done in place of Columbus Day. So we would, I believe, as next year's calendar is probably already in.
No, it's in a draft form, and what I would say is, it's got to be a regional calendar that's accepted by the whole region in the southeast, which includes Wyndham Southwest, Central, Northeast, up to Rivendell, actually. So I'll suggest that and look at it as a possibility. One of the issues that we felt is pretty important is to have parent conferences on a day where parents are available. We also feel like teachers, if they needed to, they could take a personal day, but I'll look at whether we could swap it out, or there was one other thing that was a potential, but we'll look at some of the options.
All right, we'll take it under advisement. Okay, no other communications?
I have a question on that one. Whose decision is that?
Well, it's a regional calendar, so it's really the state. You know, we submit our draft and they have to approve it.
So that's not a board decision?
No.
It's a state decision?
Yeah. We have to, the draft calendar has to have 176 teacher days. We have to have so many in-service days per our contract. Then we build in 3 or 4 snow emergency days. And that depends on how the year begins and how it ends in terms of the end of the year calendar in June. So there's a lot of factors. We don't really decide ourselves on the February or April vacation because we have to align it to the career centers, not only our own, but in Springfield. So.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else for the clerk's report? If not, we move on to recognition of groups and individual visitors. And Kevin O'Donnell is here.
Hello.
We also have representing the Career Center and Mike Burnett's absence, Paul Cohen, who will be reporting on behalf of the Career Center. Is there any new additions at the Career Center to be reported in terms of
In terms of
was there any
personnel?
births that happened over there?
Oh, is it time now? Sure, yeah, there certainly has been. Michael Burnett's wife gave birth to twins a week ago today. I can only imagine he'll be anxious to come back to work.
Or I'll be anxious
I gotta go back to that.
I think maybe a little of both, yeah. So they have a 2-year-old and now 2 1-week, and all boys. And he and I have been in pretty steady email communication. I'm imagining him holding 2 kids and hunting and pecking on the keyboard with one finger. But he's been staying in pretty good contact. And he'll be back right after the Thanksgiving break.
Good, well, we'll hear from you under the administrative reports, but congratulations to Michael Burnett and his family. Just thinking about it.
I know.
Okay, we move on to consent agenda, and we start as always with finance, building, and transportation.
Do we have to vote to go into consent?
Well, yes, we do, you're right. Let's vote to go in first.
I move we enter consent agenda.
Second.
Got ahead of myself, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any against or abstentions? If not, we are on consent agenda. Thank you, Ruth, and we'll hear from you on finance.
Okay, now I can speak. We met on November 5th and approved warrant numbers 1074, 1075, 1076, 1078, 1079, 1080, and 1081, a total amount of $164,594.39. We also approved payrolls, payroll of October 2nd in the amount of $431,877.40. October 16th in the amount of $458,124.17. And October 30th in the amount of $439,487.72. And do you remember what else we did, Mr. Woodward?
Well, we definitely talked about the budget preparations, and once again, I would remind that for the next 2 or 3 weeks, the Finance Committee will be meeting, but primarily as the Budget Committee. And although our next meeting was listed on the agenda here for 8 o'clock on the 19th, it is actually, will be at 5:30 p.m. at Central Office, and that's where we're,
It's gonna be right here. Yeah.
But
The budget meeting?
budget meetings are,
I thought, okay.
Let me just say, it would be good to do it here because we have a study committee meeting right
Okay,
after.
all right, I thought that Frank said there was an issue with the use of the room. Nobody's aware of that?
We'll check it out.
Yeah.
I think it's BAMS and.
I'm sorry.
It's BAMS and one other.
Yeah, it's the BAMS and
Yeah.
WRCC
Yeah.
budgets.
Paul, could you check that out in terms of the music room on Thursday?
Oh, I thought it was the multi-purpose room that was being used, but I can see if this space is available for 5:30, sure will.
Okay, well,
there are many rooms in this building, there should be one available.
well, yes, but, and I thought Frank, because he has all his materials down there, you don't remember that at Finance, him saying?
I don't, do
And there
you
was an
remember
I think we
anything?
talked about this room. And in here, pretty sure,
Okay,
yeah.
I mean,
I know that
traditionally,
we
this is
discussed
where it
at
is, we
the
could have it somewhere.
Last Act 46 Study Committee that the committee meeting was going to be here because the budget meeting was here, and Frank was there and did not object to that.
Okay,
We'll
all right.
We'll confirm.
All
And
right.
what is the date?
It's the 19th, which would be this Thursday. All right, well, I must have had a nightmare or a pipe dream or something. So we'll double check it, but we'll assume that it's 5:30 here. Okay, then, coming Monday, the 23rd, budget meeting at, and I'll let anybody else pass judgment as to where that one is, district-wide, BAMS, and the Student Activity Fund. Is your understanding, everybody's understanding that that's here as well?
Yes.
That's what I
I think
thought.
it's district-wide BUHS.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the BAMS is this Thursday.
Okay, you know what, I probably took it off the original, something we got way back. Student Activity Fund, though, is included on
I believe it is part of that same.
the 23rd.
Yes.
There will be a budget meeting for sure at 5:30 on the 23rd. That part I will,
And I know for sure, yeah, I know for sure it's BUHS and district-wide for sure.
yeah.
I'll double check, I say.
Yeah, that's right, because I have BAMS and WRCC for the 19th. We're doing two at a time this year, which is a bit of a change. We generally had a separate meeting for each BAMS, WRCC, district-wide. Okay, so we will not be having our every other Thursday morning Finance Committee meetings for the time being while we work through the budget process. Okay, anything else? That's it for finance, I believe, right?
Just a question, can we vote on those payrolls if they weren't on the agenda? 'Cause, I mean, I just don't remember.
Well, my position is that they were just, you guys put them on and they're pretty routine numbers.
I mean, I'm not, it's just whether there's an audit.
Yeah, yeah, well,
I would think so, because it's on the consent agenda, and like, we're voting on what policy did today, or TCC did, or whatever else, and that's the,
and we did.
and it's
do
all
it.
done verbally
Yeah.
too.
I would say let's approve them, and if anybody wants to review the numbers, they're certainly welcome to. Okay, WSCSU Finance?
We have not met since our last meeting, but we're meeting on Wednesday at 6 o'clock to go over central office curriculum and grants. And then on December 2nd, which may be before our next meeting here, we'll be doing special ed. And that'll be at 6 o'clock also.
Oh, the budgets for
The
central
budgets.
office.
The budget, yeah,
curriculum
so the
and
budgets for
grants.
central
Okay.
office curriculum
Okay, I'm
and
sorry.
grants, sorry.
Boy, I'm
I've got
slow.
the cold, so my head is foggy.
No, you said it
than
right.
usual.
Yeah, the supervisor unions.
This
Yeah,
is
supervisor
supervisory
union budget, okay.
They will meet at central office as well. We have enough budget to cover that meeting, I believe. And then special ed we'll do on December 2nd, which is a Wednesday, so I have a feeling that'll be before our next meeting here, our next BUHS, District 6.
Yeah, next meeting for us will be December 7th. Okay, thank you, Russ. Planning and policy?
Met earlier this evening to go over our second reading on the policies, and I'll tell you all about that in unfinished business.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. Teacher curriculum?
Teacher curriculum met earlier this evening as well, and we had a discussion with Mr. Perrin and Mr. Haas about the relevance of having keyboarding as a graduation requirement, and they're going to do some research to see what other schools do around keyboarding as a graduation requirement, and if that's something that has gone the way of the dinosaur and we need to also come up to speed on that, or if it's something that's really relevant and we need to keep it. So we're going to get more information and be advised accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Ricky. And BAM?
BAMS committee met this morning. Well, I should say Mr. Lyman and I met this morning. We were the only ones there, and we had a conversation in relation to discipline and the percentages of referrals because I was curious if the numbers, since the numbers in BAMs have gone up, if the numbers of referrals have gone up. So we had a discussion about that. We also talked a little bit about how the Chromebooks are doing with going home and that number of Chromebooks moving around, and about how parent-teacher conferences went. And Mr. Lyman also offered that at some point in the future board education thing, probably after budget's over, that he would do similar to what he did with Guilford a couple weeks ago around PLPs for this board. That he did what everyone said has been saying is a really good presentation on PLPs. So at some point for a future board education, I'd recommend that we do that.
Okay, good idea.
And that was it.
Okay, I'm
Taking your notes.
yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes when I write things down, though, they get twisted, but I got it. When we're moving on to WRCC, which we have not
We have done
had
that.
since the last meeting. Okay. Is there anything else for consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to accept consent agenda?
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. And second, Russ? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, consent agenda is accepted. And we'll move on to administrative reports. Well, let's see. What's everybody smiling about? See who's going to start? Let's start with Mr. Lyman.
All right. It's been a while since I started, right, everyone? I'll be brief. A few events that have happened recently. We had our Beams family night a couple weeks ago. And one exciting thing that came there was part of the director position's job is to seek out for grants and donations, and we got a $4,000 donation from TransCanada, and they came and hand-delivered a check. So that was, we've had donations from them in the past, but she was able to more than double it, so it was really nice. Her fall concert happened there last week, and every concert is impressive for the middle school. I'm always just blown away at how well they perform, and the direction of the two music teachers is just great to see. The place was packed. We had an assembly during the day for the kids and the staff, and then later on a concert for families and friends. An interesting switch this year was we changed our schedules around, so now we have a separate 7th grade band and a separate 8th grade band, and so that was unique for Tom to teach that, and it's fun. We had the concert bands, the chorus, and the jazz band perform. And also coming up this coming weekend is the District Music Festival here. It's here at BUHS Auditorium on Friday, Saturday. And we have, I know 10 chorus members made it, and there's a middle school jazz band. I'm not sure how many students made that. I assume we had some. And there's also high school, right? We had parent-teacher conferences last week, and really well attended, and really well organized by my counselors in the school and the teaching staff. So it was very successful. And coming up, we have some in-service on Monday, Tuesday, and we plan to do a lot of work through our work with the Tarrant Institute and continuing our work on personalized learning plans, PLPs, and moving forward with that work. We also have a different employee from the Tarrant Institute coming down and working with teachers on new innovative technology and give teachers a chance to experiment with it too. They're going to introduce some new stuff and then allow them to test it out a little bit. So pretty excited about some of that stuff. That's all I have. Unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
Career Center.
Oh, sure, thank you. I have a little bit to report. We've had a recent trip to New York City by our acting program. This is a twice-a-year trip that Bob Kramsky takes with his students. This year they saw 3 shows. Ruthless, which was about a ruthless young woman pursuing an acting career, I think in New York. Les Mis, which none of them had seen, and a play called Sheer Madness, a murder mystery that had a lot of audience participation that Bob said the kids particularly enjoyed. They then met, and I think this is something he tries to do every year, they then met with a couple of BUHS graduates who had been through the acting program. One of them is now attempting to earn a living as an actor in New York. Good luck to him. And another is still in acting school in New York. So the kids had a chance to have those interactions, which was great. They then come back, he said, and said they do quite a bit of discussion, reading, and writing around that experience so that it lends itself nicely to the program. Our construction program through Bob Simeon are in the process of building 6 shelters for the parking machines in town. Kiosks that will cover them and keep you dry while you're fumbling for your reading glasses, trying to figure out which button to push to make those things work. So they're nearly done. We have a nice picture we've taken of the process. We'll get another one when it's done and get them out to the newspapers. And also our recent in-service last week, and it'll continue next week, is through our association with SREB, the Southern Regional Employment Board. And it's based on project-based learning, which I firmly believe is something that Career Center teachers in particular have a good handle on. But at the same time, sitting through some of that, I realized the way it was, the in-service was talking about it, really offered some other angles on how to make it a little more relevant and how to get a little more out of kids in terms of critical thinking. And I was impressed with the quality of those presentations. Also, just recently in concert with the high school, the collegiate high school teachers at the Career Center were in some recent trainings around launching the personalized learning plans for students. And as I think about that from the Career Center viewpoint, I realize it's a really wonderful opportunity to create almost a portfolio of kids' best work, so that when they're out looking for a job at some point, they'll hopefully be able to morph that plan really into a portfolio of work. So I think they'll do good things with that. And I think that's it.
Great.
And if you have any questions, as I said, I'm in pretty steady contact with Mike Burnett at this point, so I'll pass anything on to him you might have.
Thank you. Student council, the goal before the high school?
Sure. Last Tuesday on our half day, we went to the local drop-in center and interviewed their director, compiling a short video which we will use to present to the school on our Feed the Thousands kickoff, which is the Monday after Thanksgiving break. We asked her about how our donations help, what kind of items they're looking for, how many people rely on the drop-in center for their source of food per season. And our goal is to both raise food and money donations to help out our community, but also raise awareness of food insecurity in the Brattleboro area. So we hope that interviewing people like this and presenting this to the student body will help both of those things. We have 3 new freshman members who we're excited to keep working with throughout the school year. And we're still meeting and planning the logistics of our kickoff next Monday. Anything to add? Thanks.
Can I just piggyback on what Oliver said about the food insecurity? And just to, again, promote the idea of the Vermont Food Bank, Vermont Hunger has sponsored a food pantry here every first and third Monday of every month at 10 a.m. And it's right actually outside in the parking lot where the bus loop is. And so we're really trying to encourage, we're getting information out to parents through newsletters, but really encouraging parents, any parent of all of the district schools are eligible to just come. There's no requirement. Come and just get fresh produce, and I'm not sure if there's other foods that they,
I think there is, but they're highlighting produce
Yeah.
at this point.
so we hope that people are aware of that and get out there on the first and third Monday at 10 a.m.
But they had, today, they had like a big bin of really good-looking apples. They had bags of onions, they had squash, water, bottled water, all kinds of stuff, all, you know, totally free and,
And where is this again?
Right
Carrots.
here, right in the parking lot by the front entrance of the
Potatoes,
Curtis.
all kinds of
Can I follow up with something? Did I talk about the administrative lunches in last week's meeting? Or was that in the span?
Mentioned that.
Yeah, you mentioned they were coming up.
Oh, so we actually had our first administrative lunch of the 2015-16 school year, which I thought went very well. We had 12 or 15 students per lunch period come and talk about issues. We mainly focused again on students missing class, presenting and discussing a survey that Mr. Perrin handed out to the student body and gauging interest and validity of different ideas and how to move forward into next year to address this problem. So thank you, Mr. Perrin, for participating.
Does he provide lunch?
He did. He bought us all pizza. Yeah.
That's right.
Very kind.
He'll let me know when those are happening.
The students did a great job of moderating all through lunch periods. So, and they've actually, Lunch C especially, I need to talk to Oliver about it, had some other topics they'd like to bring up. So.
Thank you. BUHS?
Sure. So I'd like to highlight first one of our faculty members, Richard Heller, who's an art teacher here. He's got some work that's currently hanging in the gallery in the woods. And he's had things displayed here, as several of our artists here have. But this week he's reviewed in this month's ArtScope magazine. So if you get a chance to check out ArtScope magazine, they've done a little review of Richard Heller's work. He's a talented artist, and as I said with Bennett Sauer's essay last month, it's great to see some of our teachers actually doing their content in a professional manner. So it's kind of cool to see that. So if you get a chance to check out ArtScope magazine, please take it. As Keith pointed out, we are having our fall concert Wednesday at 6 p.m. That'll feature the band and the chorus. And I'm sure Steve Rice and Patty Meyer have got a phenomenal show. I've listened to a few of the rehearsals and they sound great. And if rehearsal sounds that good, I can imagine what the actual show's going to sound like. And also, as Keith mentioned, we'll be hosting the Connecticut Valley Fall Music Festival here at the high school on Friday and Saturday. That will be hundreds of students that will come and join us. They have a great time. It's a real celebration of music and of the different talents that our students have. We have 26 students representing several different ensembles throughout the time, so we're excited for that. At our in-service last week, we spent a lot of our time letting departments finish up their proficiency-based content standards. That's been a process that started last year. We're hoping to have those wrapped up, and so we can pilot those next semester. I've seen some from several departments, and they look great. What we really ask the teachers to do is really divide their rubrics up into skills that students should have in a given proficiency, and also content they should be able to master. And that's part of this multi-year rollout for proficiency-based graduation. And that's a first and important step in really kind of beginning to use the proficiencies effectively in a classroom setting. Also on Wednesday, John Kersey and Kate Hudson did a presentation. They have a professional learning community in high school, and what they have been working on are literacy skills. And they actually reintroduced a literacy skill from the 1980s called Foursquare, where you take a word, a vocabulary word in a content area, and then working with students, some of it online, some of it as a group, you really look at the etymology of the word, you look at synonyms, you look at antonyms, you look at different ways to use the word, and it's a really effective tool. We use the word transcend, and we had a great discussion, everything from transcendentalism to transformers and everything in between as we kind of went through discussion. So that group will be presenting different literacy strategies periodically throughout the year for us to kind of try out as a faculty. And it's a pretty powerful tool. As the middle school did, and as the dual credit teachers did, we spent some time working on personal learning plans. Currently, our 9th and 10th graders are working with personal learning plans. And I have to give a lot of credit here to Karen Tronosky, our technology integration person, and Nancy Johnston and Gina Honorato. They really kind of helped us develop a template. Our template that students will fill out is very similar to the one that BAMS is using. And Dummerston and Putney are actually using our exact template. And you can kind of see, and this is a little help sheet that Karen distributed to the faculty and distributed to the students. You can kind of see on the left-hand side are some menu items that students can choose. Students and counselors will work on various career inventories and interest inventories. Students will kind of track their extracurricular activities and their graduation requirements. Working with staff, they'll track how they're doing on their transferable skills and test scores and goals and things of that nature. Where this becomes really useful for our students is as they begin to consider what they're going to do after high school, it's a nice central location to kind of house all the activities and things that they've done. When we shared this with some graduating seniors a few years ago, they really liked the idea that students would have a central location where they could look back and say, did I do soccer in my sophomore year? And they could look back and say, oh yeah, I did. It's in my PLP. It's there. And so we're really hoping this becomes something that students use almost as an online portfolio. We met with all the 9th graders. They had some great questions. One of the questions that came up a few times was, is there a grade? And it's not a graded assignment, though we do hope they kind of maintain this with our assistance. So, thanks to Karen for her training that she did, she actually showed the faculty how to use Google Sites, which is what this is written in. And so it's called a WYSIWYG web browser. What you see is what you get. And it's a pretty easy way to create a website pretty simply. And so she took teachers on a process to create their own website, and students can, based on that, they can help students with their personal learning plans. I'd like to bring, some students' plans along when they're finally finished. We also did training in the classrooms on ALICE training. You remember ALICE is the enhanced lockdown procedure that we're implementing as a supervisory unit over the course of the year. So all of our teachers received some small group training. We actually worked through some scenarios to cover different kinds of violent intruder possibilities. We talked about options to looking in your own classroom, what's available to barricade a door, what kinds of supplies should we be supplying to teachers to kind of help them along the way. One thing that came up was a rope. We talked about what does it look like to evacuate, and then we ran through some various scenarios. What would happen if we had an intruder in a hallway? What would happen if we had an intruder in a classroom? It's sobering to work through, but the nice thing about this program is rather than our current strict lockdown procedure, this really is an option-based process where a classroom with a teacher and students can kind of look at and evaluate where a threat might be coming from and what their next step should be, depending on where the threat is and the nature of the threat. And so it's pretty valuable. At this point, at the high school, we're going to go through a process probably after the new semester starts, where we'll be training hallways of teachers and students and kind of work our way through the school in that way. And then after that, we're going to, BAMS and the Career Center staff will be coming along with us, and then we'll talk as an administrative team, BUHS 6-wide, about what would a campus-wide drill look like and what would that entail. We're not there yet, but that's certainly a step along the way. So sobering but important, and the group I worked with was pretty enthusiastic and kind of understood the necessity. We also spent some time, as we did the administrative lunches, talking about missed class time and some possible solutions. That process will continue this week with the leadership team, the department heads. I had hoped to do that last week, but with some budget stuff coming up, I was unable to meet with the department heads. So we're going to look at that this week and then kind of see what our next step is. Winter sports kicks off this week. We're kind of excited about winter sports getting underway. It's kind of interesting to see the hockey players coming in before school starts, looking a little tired already after having morning practices. Almost last. Dan Braden has done some amazing work. He is our STEM Academy coordinator, and he's done an incredible job kind of doing some outreach with community members. And he's created this brochure for students who are considering the STEM Academy. He's kind of laid out what it would take to be an engineering student in the STEM Academy, what it would take to be in the biomedical strand. And I can't say enough about the work Dan's done. He's talked to several people in the community, and you can see that he's put together a guest speaker series that will span the year, where he'll bring in different speakers as an enrichment process during this period to kind of take field trips. Actually, a field trip was a Block 3 field trip, but a green day, a tech day, kind of a health career day. And so he's going to bring in some guest speakers and do a series of presentations. So students, in science and technology, engineering, and math can kind of look and say, okay, so in the Brattleboro area, here are some options for me. And here are some things that some people are doing in STEM careers right now. So we're pretty excited about that process as well. And if you see Dan, thank him for his hard work. We also had Diversity Day last week, and that went pretty well. We had a wide range of speakers and movies. One of the movies that we showed was actually one that was done locally, and it was called The Tucker Family Tribe, and Jane Baker did it. It's gotten several awards. It's a pretty moving movie about a family in the 70s. Features several of our students. It's a great movie, and if you ever get the chance to see it, take it. The day was capped by a pretty raucous show by some Senegalese dancers. And at one point they had, I want to say, 150, 200 students up and dancing in the gymnasium. So it was a good event. So thanks to Michaela Sims for her work getting that done. And I think I've spoken enough. Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment if I could. It relates to this personal learning plan that you handed out, because when Keith was at Guilford, he brought 2 students with him, and they showed the beginning of their PLPs, and it was really interesting. And then they talked about the perspective of what their PLP looked like as middle schoolers, and what is it going to look like when they graduate, and they'll have ways to go back and reacquaint themselves with that information. So I sort of thought, well, this is like an electronic journal. Mm-hmm. And Keith did a really nice job presenting it to Guilford. So, and the kids were super and very engaged and focused and had good comments. So it was nice.
Great. Ready for my report?
Yes,
He
you're
just gave-
chomping at
Sean
the
just
bit
gave my
because he's
report.
already-
Yeah, that's good. But when I saw that sheet as well, I thought of the 2 students that it was really interesting how they talked about their interests under student information and then their goal setting, which was really nice. And it was, as Sean just said, it was a great presentation. And I would say don't put it off after the budget. Do it as soon as you can, because it was really interesting. And have some students come, because they were really, we found that really great. The other thing I'll comment on with the STEM programming, it's really exciting how this is coming to be, and especially in the biomedicine area. We're working with Vermont Technical College right now to do an introductory nursing program where we take 4 of these courses along with a nutrition course, have our students essentially take the first year of the nursing program and then potentially do a second year at VTC, kind of like the VAS program that they've offered throughout the state. And with VTC so close by, it's going to be a really great opportunity for some of our students. So we'll keep you informed as that gets developed. I'm going to pass out just a few copies of a news release that Paul, I believe, put together. And I wanted to just comment on this. You can scan it and then send it down, but you know, it's a press release that Paul put out to the Reformer, I think, and maybe the Commons. Do you know if it's run yet?
No, I've been in touch with Bob Audette today. He had thought it would run Saturday, and he's assured me it'll run soon.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know when.
So it highlights a feature on one of our students, Peyton Eisler, who is really an impressive senior. She's done some great work at the Career Center and also high school classes. She actually came with me and Tom Yan, our collegiate high school coordinator, to a Superintendent's and School Board Association annual conference this fall. And she did a great job presenting the dual credit courses that she's been involved with, talked about her own personal experience with the courses, and it was really impressive. She's doing work now as an intern at Pine Heights. She's very interested in the biomedical science. She's got a really good goal in terms of what she's going to be working towards after high school. So I'll just pass this around if you get a chance to take a look at it. And hopefully when the Reformer publishes it, you'll see it. And I think there's going to be a nice picture of her.
Yes.
The other thing I have is, it's under the next agenda item, but I think I'll do it now anyway. Wanted to give you a little background on the Act 46 study group that just met. There's enough since Ricky and Ian have a copy of it. I'll just highlight a little bit of this as it gets around, and then I'd ask Ian and Ricky to speak a little bit more about it. So we met last Thursday, November 12th. You can see the committee members present there at the top. Ricky and Ian will be voting members for Brattleboro Town, although since Brattleboro Town Board hadn't met to assign them yet, they were essentially considered ex officio. And I don't think it mattered because we didn't take any action that night. But after Wednesday, they will be voting members of the committee. You can see the representation. There'll be 3 Brattleboro Town Board members along with Ricky and Ian. And then Dummerston has Amy Wall, Guilford has Beth Bristol. Beth is actually the representative and Trista is the alternate. Alice Laughlin is the chair, representing Putney, and Matt Coombs representing Vernon. So I thought we had a good session, more of an introductory session. We have another meeting scheduled this Thursday at 6:30 after your budget meeting. So Ricky and Ian, I welcome any of your comments.
Like you said, this was really an introductory meeting. You know. It's a brand new committee. We're just kind of getting into what we're looking at. We'll start digging into the meat of it afterwards. I'm working on reading through Act 46 right now, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing. I said that we're getting together as a group for the first time and really figuring out, and I think one of the things that we have established for our agenda this Thursday is to really figure out what the scope of the work of the committee is going to be. And once we figure that out, we'll be able to move forward with what the next steps are going to be for us, once we define that.
We finally will have access to the financial models that the Act 46 project is talking about. So we just got access to those today. And so that will allow Frank Rucker to look at some of the models in terms of the budget, and compare our current budgets with what the incentives would look like through the Act 46 process. So we'll start getting into that next week as well.
Pretty tight time frame to accomplish this work. I see you have meetings scheduled through January 21st, and by that point, we're getting to the point where it has to be pretty well finalized as to what the recommendation in order to have warning for the.
Right.
for the
If in
town
fact
meeting.
the committee feels like they want to do the accelerated option.
For the accelerated option, right. Okay, well, thank you two for volunteering to be part of this important work.
That's it for me.
That's it for you? Okay, I don't have anything particular tonight. I think we covered, got all the 6 on there. We move on to unfinished business, and we just talked about Act 46. That will be on every agenda for the next few meetings, updates. So we move on to item B, policy reviews. This is the second reading of 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a local board policy, right, Ian?
Yep. It is. Planning and Policy discussed these today and talked about some of the stuff that we discussed in the last meeting and made a couple of changes based on those. For F1, student conduct and discipline, as you'll recall in the last meeting, we discussed whether that definition section was necessary in this policy. Because this policy is not actually setting anything, just saying that policies will be set by the administration. Planning and Policy does not feel we need that that definitions section, and that having it in there is actually a distraction from the policy as it deals so much with weapons, which aren't even a primary part of the policy. So we will be removing that definition section. Our other alteration is on policy F8, student medication. We had noted that there was not, in fact, any requirement in this policy for prescription medication to be brought to the nurse. It seemed like the intent, but it wasn't actually in there. So in implementation in part 2 of that, we have changed that line to read, medication must be brought to school in a container labeled by the pharmacy or physician and stored as designated by the school nurse. And those are the only 2 changes we have made. The remaining policies, F9, student alcohol and drugs, H4, distribution of non-school sponsored literature in the schools, and LBP3, directory information/military recruitment, remain as written.
So we would be voting on them
Adoption
at the next meeting. The 2 that have revisions, will get that around to the rest of the group before the,
I will send those revisions to Barb, so,
yeah.
Then she'll
okay.
send them.
yeah.
To everybody, okay. Just so we can,
Mine now showed that you were thinking of changing the name of F9. Student alcohol and drugs. I think I wasn't.
One member did not like that name.
Yeah.
She was not at this planning and policy meeting, so the objections to the name did not move forward.
Okay.
Unless you have some
Oh, no, no,
idea
no,
as to
no.
what you would like to
Yeah.
call it
I
instead.
just was wondering what happened to that.
okay. So at our next meeting, it will be up for vote for the group. All right. Is there anything else under unfinished business? Is there anything under new business? If not, our next meeting will be on December 7th, Monday night, December 7th.
Pearl Harbor Day.
Pearl Harbor Day, that's right. And I assume that meeting will be in this room and I won't be confused as to where it's supposed to be?
It should be here.
Okay, very
We have a
good.
budget meeting ahead of time here.
Right. Yes, that will be a 6:30 start for our first public review of the budget.
Oh, really? The board meeting?
Yeah, I believe we said it.
Okay.
Let me double. I'm not sure myself at all tonight in terms of the
Yeah.
starting time.
We have
but,
confirmation.
Let's see. Public meeting. Well, I guess I'm just going based on our tradition of I review that.
Is it listed in there?
It doesn't show the time.
I had it down as being, they're usually at 6:30.
Right.
Do budget review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll confirm that.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Let me mention the next, the budget meeting after the 23rd is the 30th, is that correct?
I believe that's what I have.
Yeah,
Yeah, special ed and revenue I have down as the topics for that night at 5:30.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, there appearing to be no other business. I move we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Give it to Sean. Sean.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Not, thank you.
Oh, yeah. This is great.